Hello, once again, YouTube. Today I'm going to review the second episode of Power Rangers Ninja Steel. The episode 2, called Forged in Steel, picks up where the first episode left off, and opens with the still-to-be white and yellow Ninja Steel Rangers sitting in their truck, and then all of a sudden a bunch of garbage starts falling from the sky. Obviously the garbage from the first episode when Brody and his engineering friend and Redbot, his robot companion, escaped through the trash chute of the spaceship that they were on. And they meet the engineer, or yeah, I guess that's what he is. He's an engineer. And oddly enough, he just decides to get attacked. The enemies just decides to attack this engineer, even though they have no reason to want him back. They're still obviously just looking for the Ninja Steel Prism. And during this episode, not only do we see the White and Yellow Ranger get their powers, they are chosen. They pull the Ninja Stars out of the prism, and they become Power Rangers. We get to see the first full 5-team morph, and of course totally different than the Japanese version of Ninja. In Ninja they were on a rooftop, and in this they're just on the ground next to a building, like a shopping center of some kind. Obviously all the Power Ranger series now are filmed in New Zealand, to be close by to Saban's studios. He probably saves a lot of money that way, but unfortunately we also have to see a lot of New Zealand architecture, as well as a lot of broken accents and whatnot. A lot of the actors on the show are native New Zealanders. I wouldn't even doubt if Saban just has lots of his friends and family act in the show just because he can. Sorry if my voice sounds a little coarse. I'm not feeling very well right now, but hopefully I'm speaking loud enough and clear enough to where you can hear me proper. This episode was obviously just right with inaccuracies. It was bad. But I'm going to try to make this short and sweet, because my first review of the first episode ran, I think, to like 17 minutes or something like that. We don't want to do that today. I'm just really going to quick run through. They obtain their Zords. We get to see their Ninja Steel Zords for the first time, and you know how I mentioned in the previous episode that Brody, the Red Ranger's robot companion, or Redbot, is basically just a human-sized version of his Shinobi Zord, the Shinobi Maru from Ninja. And when he meets his Zord for the first time, the actual Shinobi Maru, he jumps up on its shoulder and just says, "Hey, you look a lot like Redbot." I literally facepalmed when I saw it. Because Redbot is Shinobi Maru. It's just a human-sized version of his Zord. Again, they're trying to throw in elements from Go Busters, a series that Saban skipped. He could have done it, but he decided to skip it just so he could try to stay only 1 or 2 series behind Japan. But with the way he's doing things, dragging the series out for 2 years instead of 1 like Japan does, he's always going to be behind. And if anything, if he keeps merging series together like this, he's going to be behind indefinitely. And it's definitely something us American fans don't want. We want everything to stay current, 1 series behind, no exceptions. I mean, because in Japan, we're the true fans, we're watching it in Japan as they air, or literally the day after they air. I mean, but here in America, you're drawing it out way too long, which is strange considering this episode and the first episode of Power Rangers Ninja Steel, they seemed rushed. Like they were just trying to get from point A to point B. Let's not have any complicated backstory other than, the Red Ranger's backstory, because obviously Saban's not putting enough effort into a backstory for every single one of his Ranger characters like they do in Japan. So Toei in Japan, they know how to give every character a backstory, fully flushed. They make you care about these characters in Japan. Here in America, you only give us one backstory to the Red Ranger. Everyone else just kind of shows up, and now, even though none of them had prior, engagements with each other, they didn't have, they didn't even know each other. It was like the first day of high school or something. They were all meeting, and speaking of the high school, the engineer from the ship, Brody's friend engineer, which I believe is a recycled actor from Power Rangers SPD. He was the engineer in that series too, I believe. It's hard to tell because he's a little older. SPD was it was like 12 years ago. Maybe not that long, but I would say it's about 10 years ago SPD was. But it still irks me when they have to recycle actors. The only time, in my mind, a true fan's mind, when you should recycle an actor, it should be a Ranger. And not bring them back to be a new Ranger. No, bring them back for a cameo. To, do that. In Japan, we have crossovers. We have, like in Japan, we can see Nin Ninja versus Zyuohger. Or we can have Go-Sager versus Go-Kaiger, But here we don't do that. It's just one series, and when that series is over, it's over. One thing that I do have to mention about this episode before I wrap this all up is just the fact that they don't make anything clear. They're keeping everything vague. And in Ninja, the Japanese version, you pretty much know they don't establish all the characters in one episode, no, but in this, that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to establish all the characters way too fast, and then you're just supposed to like them. But again, once more, the fact that these Rangers just meet, they've never known each other before, but now they're already friends, and they say, okay, yeah, we're Rangers now, let's save the world, oh, let's be friends. And then they all go to high school together at the end of the episode. And then, for some reason, I'm guessing it's the principal of the high school, thinks that their engineer friend is the new shop teacher. And then they just decide to turn the high school shop into, the paint room in their shop into their secret base? That's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. It's a high school. There's people coming and going all the time. There's janitors, there's principals, there's students. Do you think, like, by chance, they're not going to stumble upon, across that secret base? You're putting it in a high school shop class. I mean, even in Dino Charge, they were in a museum, but at least they were underneath the museum, and they had a secret entrance from well outside the museum. So, I'm just going to state this once, and obviously, none of these characters are related. When in Ninja, they're all brothers and sisters. They're all related. So, let's wrap up the episode. They morph for the first time. They use their Zords for the first time. Meet their Zords for the first time. And they defeated the bad guy relatively easily. They were just all riding on top of their Zords and then used their Ranger Blasters to defeat a giant monster. That seemed really lame. They didn't form the Megazord or anything, and this was episode 2, and we still have not seen the formation of their Megazord. In the Japanese version, we see every single Japanese version of every single Super Sentai Power Ranger series, we see the formation of the Megazord every time by episode 2. Episode 2 of Power Rangers Ninja Steel came and went, no Megazord still. So, again, they're doing the exact same formula as they did with Dino Charge, and they're just going to draw it out while rushing the episode's exposition at the same time. So, we have all 5 Ninja Steel Rangers. We're missing the 6th. Obviously, when the prism came and the white and yellow Ranger pulled their Ninja Stars out of the prism, there was supposed to be the gold star too, but it was missing, and then they just say, oh, well, I guess someone must have must have removed the gold power star before the prism came back to them so they could get their power stars. And in the very, very end of the episode, they showed the villain, the actual main villain from Ninja from the Japanese series holding the Gold Ranger or Star Ninja Power Star, Ninja Star. So they're going to keep at least one element of the Japanese series intact, and that's the fact that one of the villains basically has hold of the Gold Ninja Star, and I don't know where they're going to go with it from there, because the Ninja, Star Ninja, or the Gold Ranger just kind of appears out of nowhere, and he already has his powers, and they have to be introduced to him. First he's a bad guy, then he's a good guy, but we'll find out how all that goes once they actually introduce the Gold Ranger in the series. Like I stated before, I'm not holding my breath. They're probably going to change a lot of stuff with him too, and he's my favorite Ranger from Ninja. So, all in all, again, another bland, not too exciting, rushed episode. Episode 2, Power Rangers Ninja Steel, Forged in Steel. That's my review. So until next week, until the new episode, episode 3, this is Rangers Ready Go.